Guys,
Good
Oh,
evening, sir.
is it that time again?
we're back on
Must be
another
Wednesday
Wednesday.
night.
The
Yes.
troublemaker's back.
Yeah, three Spurgs talking about crap for 2 hours. Yeah, it's that time.
Hey, if this is being a Spurg, I'll take it.
I got to get that money's muscles and game, guys. Guarantee to get a woman, apparently, you know.
Yeah, okay. You know what? That's true. But will it keep a woman?
Yeah.
Will it keep a woman?
I'm going to go with Steve here.
Wow.
I can get a woman with money, muscles, and game. I can get them. Not a problem. Keeping them, on the other hand, we're just bombarded with evidence every single day that is not enough. And I think there's a reason for that. But I'll let Nick take it away here. I have my thoughts.
Oh, of course it's not enough because there's more to a person than money, muscles, and game. You're not going to keep anybody with that crap. But that's not really the subject of today. I'm getting the cart before the horse, guys.
We like to do that.
But you know what? It seems like if I'm using money, muscles, and game to get a woman, she's not mine. It's just my turn. Does it flow?
Yeah. Maybe, but also women make their own decisions, guys. They have agency. Sometimes it just doesn't work out.
You mean I can't convince them to stay by the power of my muscles?
No, Plutarch. You need to use logic for that.
I've been married for 8 years. I can tell you right now, that ain't the answer.
Well, Dalrock does give. That's going to be some of the subject. Old Dalrock, who left the Manosphere in 2020, left the RP in 2020.
Yeah, was he speaking to women or to men?
Anon. Yeah, there's sometimes he spoke to women, but his audience was men.
Hey, I was around and I was a frequent commenter there. There's probably 20 regular male commenters. There was probably 3 to 5 female commenters that participated on a semi-regular basis. And the guys who, in addition to that 20, there were probably another 80 guys who, occasionally commented. So, yeah, there were way the hell less women reading that than men.
So we got Old Wisdom over here, 7-man. So I am by no means the Dalrock expert. I think Steve probably knows a little bit more about Dalrock than I do. But it's my turn, and I chose this subject. We're talking about Dalrock and the old red pill, Dalrock and the Manosphere and all that. And it's like there's this vacuum that has been left in the RP. It's not the same as it used to be. And we kind of find ourselves tending to fill that vacuum a little bit. And I don't think we did so on purpose. But we can kind of resonate with Dalrock's message.
And I want to point out here before we get too far down this road that for all you Spurgs out there, yes, this is not the only reason the RP is having a bit of a identity crisis right now. We know there's a lot going on, but this is this is one of our things that we've been talking about a lot behind the scenes, and we think that this is a large chunk of what's going on.
Well,
So, guys, what is the RP? Didn't we do an episode on that?
What is missing from the Dalrock era?
All right, we can go there.
We attempt, the three of us, kind of attempt to bring some of that back inadvertently. Because in the Dalrock era, there were multiple men commenting. They gave time to think about things, and they commented, and the discussions, and Nick is not going to show any of the discussions, comments that ensued after a Dalrock post. Most of the action happened in the comments. Dalrock would post something, he'd start the ball rolling, and then there would be comments. And it would be 100 to 150 comments. And it would go for 2-3 days, sometimes a week, and then he'd post another one. The actions happen in the comments, in the dialogue between men. In the red pill these days, mostly on YouTube. And it's one man saying his thing. YouTube comments are not really of the same type. So the only place you get the exchange of ideas and the building upon it is where you have multiple men on the same stream, kind of in a free form discussion, seeing where it goes. That's what we do. We come up with a theme. Believe it or not, we do not have it scripted out where we're going. It's kind of a free form. And at the end of the stream, in the after stream discussion, we frequently comment, damn, I had no idea. I didn't think it would go there. So,
so Steve, I just to comment on that a little further, Twitter has become a bit of a new place, but the speed at which things fall off the timeline makes it very difficult to have that kind of blog comment conversation. So YouTube comments suck. Twitter is too quick moving, too fast. It's too fast to have a real conversation. So I would argue that, yeah, I mean, we're on stream, we're having these conversations. This is as good as it gets right now. And I mean, for as much as we try to come up with new ideas, there's not a lot of places and methodologies of doing that anymore.
Well, we have come up with many new ideas on our streams.
Yes, we have.
The problem is, when we put them out there, it's like talking into the abyss.
Yes.
Sometimes they get picked up on. Sometimes they pick up on it.
That's true, Nick.
Okay,
that's true.
but we have to be aware of how the idea is propagated elsewhere. We don't get any direct feedback. People don't comment and discuss things and disagree on our streams. We don't get anything direct or a discourse. They just kind of percolate out there. Sometimes we see it, sometimes we don't. I think we're having an impact, but it's still, I wouldn't say we get anything direct as to what kind of an impact we're having. And yeah, I'm fine with that.
I'm fine with it, but what I want to point out to the audience is that actually slows down the generation of ideas and it harms the quality of them. If you don't get feedback on your ideas, you kind of think, oh yeah, that's a great idea, and then you never, if no one ever actually directly challenges you on it, it's kind of like, I don't know if it's a good idea or not. So, Nick, sorry, we derailed you pretty hard there.
Oh,
that's what we did.
but now I remember. Next question: what is the red pill?
There we go.
We kind of described it. It's men observing information, what happens, reality, and trying to make sense of it. And when they come together and they compare notes, that's the essence of the red pill. Observations of the behavior of women, observations of, oh, damn, I was a dumb shit. I was a nice guy. I got my butt handed to me. Okay. that's the
Yeah.
core right there.
It's a
Man,
suppository for
you
most
could
guys.
they tried to tell me this stuff before, but I was such a dumb shit. I just
Oh, I
thought,
had that
he
conversation with my
loves
dad
me.
today. It was great.
He loves me. It's not gonna happen to me. And then it does.
Yeah. I talked to my dad today, saying, "Hey, we're talking about all this stuff," and he's like, "Oh." I'm like, "Yeah, basically, you know, a lot of times, we try to help. A guy will say something, he'll see something, say something. And he's like, you hope they listen, but I was like, but they're not going to listen. And I said, they didn't listen. I didn't listen. Men don't always listen, do they, Dad? And he's like, he started laughing. I didn't fucking listen.
Us guys, we kind of have to. I mean, we might hear the words, but really, we have to learn through getting our asses beat.
Don't know why.
It's just a thing, I think.
Oh man.
I have to say this, and this is not any big critique, but we were on a group chat with Plutarch's wife, Elena. She gets all excited and she wants to go tell the world the truth and expect that people will listen. And if I just do this and that, things will change. And us guys say, no. We've been there. We've tried that. It doesn't change. Yeah, you're basically like the prophet in the wilderness, speaking truth, but nobody's going to listen, or very few. So don't get so worked up that you're going to change the world. We're not changing the world here. We're in a little corner. We speak some truth. Maybe one or two guys will gain something from it, but they have to have the right experiences before they're receptive to what we say.
Well, and
But it's good that they listen to what the truth, right? So the red pill is a moral good. Oh yeah, we had an episode on that too. Sorry guys, it's not just a mere praxeology.
well,
Oh,
here,
what are you saying? It's not amoral?
No, truth is not amoral.
and hearing the truth, even if you don't accept it at the time, when the lesson does come for you, and it will come for you, you heard the truth, and you will recognize the truth then. So, yeah, okay, we're screaming into the void, but there's some pretty solid men in our chat right now, and yeah, they're lighting it up. Good to see y'all. Welcome in. Um, but and I believe every one of you guys in the chat have been through some pretty heinous shit yourselves. So you're on the other side of this whole, have to find out. But the most men, once, as long as they've heard the truth, they'll accept it once it's demonstrated to them. And that's that's another thing that I think the red pill is really about. Even if we're talking to guys who haven't been destroyed yet, when they do get destroyed, they're gonna be more able to recover mentally,
Hey,
emotionally,
I'm
and
gonna interrupt
physically.
right there.
Okay, go for it.
I'm gonna interrupt right there. So, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's amoral." No, 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 no. Helping men is a moral good. By the way, The Rational Male, the book, it's great. Roll a great book. Saving men's lives is a moral good. I know that's your slogan, and that's a moral good. Get over it.
Yeah, it is. It just is. Sorry, Rolo. You're doing a moral good. Shame on you.
Here's the other thing. What Plutarch just said Nick already affirmed. Basically told us, yeah, his dad told him the truth. He didn't listen. And he learned. Now he comes back to his dad, says, Dad, yeah, damn, you were right. And his dad just says, yeah. Okay,
I knew you weren't
that's
going to
the
listen.
story of men. Okay.
Oh,
Okay, Shu.
but
I've got a comment from Shu I want to pull up here.
Shackle.
Only a wise man with humility will hear out and implement another's correction. Shu, you are correct. Which really speaks to how few wise men there are in this world.
Oh, and why a young man doesn't do that. He lacks humility. What comes as a man gets older? He gains some humility. Maybe
Hopefully, wisdom.
maybe that's the fact that gives him the wisdom, because now he has humility instead of bluster.
Well, guys, there's another thing we've been also talking about to lay the foundation to get into Dalrock. And just kind of show this theme will come up when we're observing Dalrock. Steve had this episode. It says, no. Everybody says, oh, it's the prescriptions we have a problem with the red pill. No, 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 no. What is it, Steve? What's the real problem?
The descriptors. Everyone, just think about it. Everybody develops a narrative. Everybody, women especially, but men too. They have a rationalization. They want to believe the world is as it should be. Gee, if we were just more Christian, this is how it should be. And so they think the reality is in the should be, not in how things actually are. And in the should be, they dismiss everything of the nature of men and women that is disconcerting. But the red pill, well, we go to the nature and we look at the behaviors. Now we have to make sense of those. But man, do the tradcons hate us or hate the descriptors. But they can't say that. They just say, well, this leads men to spinning plates and going out and banging a lot of women. And so it's the prescriptors we hate. No, really, that's bullshit. It's the descriptors of the nature of men and women that you're pushing back on.
Oh, so it's the natural law, the light of nature that they have a problem with. It's like they've turned the blinders on to God's own creation, and maybe perhaps how the nature of woman has been twisted by sin and her rebelliousness. And so some things that were good, wanting a good, desirable man, they can twist, and it becomes this thing called hypergamy, and so on and so forth. So there is. So,
Oh, man, Nick. Didn't Eve rebel against the authority and the leadership of her husband, Adam? And when she formed that thought, wasn't she sinless? Is it possible that was within her nature? And it wasn't the sin that made her do it, it was her nature?
it wasn't her nature that made her do it, but she was targeted for her nature.
Okay, let me push back on that. Her nature was that she was in a
Submission to her
helping
husband.
position.
Right, but she still had authority over the serpent.
I'll say a subservient role. She was inclined to be led.
Right.
And she was then led by the wrong person, and her rebellion to the authority of her husband was a thought that preceded her actions.
Right.
So, okay. So, even a sinless woman has a certain nature that requires a man to do his job. You cannot
Mhm.
even okay, you marry a modern woman.
She should
Even
have
if she
asked her
was
husband.
the most perfect woman, he is not self-managing. That's my point.
No. She should have told, well, she has authority over the serpent. She should tell the serpent, pound sand, or, hey, husband, what the hell is this serpent over here doing? Tell me to do this. But no, the husband who was there with her ate. He didn't rebuke her like he was supposed to. He didn't, he went along with it. He simped.
So, okay, this is human nature. These are the
Hmm.
descriptors. But men have a tendency to think, oh, I found a wonderful unicorn. He's
Nah,
just such an awesome woman. She loves Jesus. She loves the church. She's moral.
maybe.
I can trust her. All this stuff.
It doesn't
You
erase
know
her
what?
nature, though.
Adam probably said the same thing. And look what happened.
Well, it doesn't erase the nature, right? There could be some sanctification and stuff that goes on in their life. Right. I mean, that's why you have to vet them and evaluate them. How long have they been walking with Christ? Do they really have a past? What is their past? Will they revert to that past? But they're still a female and they're still going to act a certain way.
Can't
And
escape that.
and I mean, give Adam a little credit here. He didn't have millennia of uh, understanding of and history of women to look back on and go, "Hey, you know what? There's a pattern here."
No, he didn't.
True enough.
But he had pre-fallen knowledge. So his knowledge is probably pretty profound, I would imagine. Now we
Yeah,
can't
there's something
understand
to
that now
that.
because there's something to that. Yeah, anyways, but we're talking about nature, and the Bible talks about nature, guys. And we're going to bring that into Dalrock. Oh, so God created the world, and we are born in his, not we were created in his image, and we are to think God's thoughts after him by studying and understanding his creation, natural law, the light of nature, reasoning, etc. We're rational creatures. He made the world, so we should study it. And so many Christians, they get all these tracons, they get so absorbed in, well, but that's the creation of scripture. I'm like, well, you don't even know your own scripture because truth's there, but you're going to ignore general revelation. You're going to ignore natural revelation. You're going to ignore the law of nature. You're going to ignore the light of nature. And we can see that. I'll pull up some Bible real quick. Uh-oh. Here we go. I got to do font. I got to zoom it in. Da, 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 da. Zooming in to 200%. And there it went away. There it is. Okay, Romans 1. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing themselves to be wise, they became fools and changed the glory of the uncorruptible God into an image made like to corruptible man, into birds and four-footed beasts and creeping things. Wherefore God also gave them up to uncleanness through the lust of their own hearts, to dishonor their own bodies between themselves, who changed the truth of God into a lie and worshiped and served the creature more than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen. For this cause God gave them up unto vile affections. For even their women did change the natural use. Note that word. Change the natural use into that which is against nature. And likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burned in their lust one toward another, men with men, working that which is unseemly, and receiving in themselves that recompense of their error, which was meat. God also talks about giving them up to a reprobate mind and so on and so forth. So we see in Romans 1 this idea of natural use. Well, how can you know what natural use is? Well, you live in nature. You live in the natural world. You have eyes to see. Oh, but in case
Well,
you don't think that's what they're really talking about, there's Romans
okay.
2, right?
Let me talk about that. Genesis, God said, "Be fruitful and multiply." Okay, it's a natural use of a woman.
Mhm.
One of them. One. For a man to plant his seed within the woman. What's that called? Procreation. Wait, God created, man procreates. Oh, we are made in the image and likeness of God. God creates, we procreate. Do you see the similarities? But no, it's just sex is for pleasure. Oh, remember on our last stream, we said the truth doesn't cease, it goes someplace. Oh, now
Yeah.
it comes. Oh, now there's a fetish out there called raw dogging. That's just
It's
merely
just
a man putting his seed inside a woman. Wow. Amazing. Okay. You know what?
amazing. It's
Real life. Yeah, this might make some people uncomfortable, but come on. Let's just talk about reality here.
yeah, this is reality. This is nature, and it's a natural law. We see that in Romans 2 as well. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the mean, while accusing or excusing one another. So it's talking about, probably more distinctly the Ten Commandments, but hey, they didn't have the special revelation of God yet. There's the hope, the you could say common grace or the restraining of the Holy Spirit, but they're still
Okay,
retain
let's just,
being made
let
in the
me
image of God, and they still have thoughts. They still have a moral compass, even though it may be twisted.
They
They
still have
still make
agency.
observations and
let
live in
me
this
stick
world, and
with
they
that.
still have
Say
agency.
this raw dogging is like the Gentiles who don't have the truth wanting to do what God
What's by
commanded.
nature is natural. What's natural?
Exactly. Come on. Does anybody else willing to talk about this stuff? Yeah, I don't think so.
No,
But I don't care.
we're of truth here. Oh,
Okay,
here's another
okay.
one. Oh man. Okay, you go, Plutarch. You go.
Uh, okay. I just wanted to interrupt a little bit because we opened by telling our audience how hard it is to come up with new ideas in the chat, and so what does our chat do? They go come up with a brand new idea. So
Uh-oh.
I just want to call you guys out, for how awesome it is that you guys were able to do that. The chief started talking about how women are like powerful exotic animals, and then Alex follows up with, "Remember that horn and that unicorn." Watch out, it'll end up your and then Chief comes back, unicorn, powerful exotic animal. You know, the I just wanted to call that out because there's a truth there. Women are powerful animals. Women have an enormous amount of
Sorry.
agency. We were,
Oh, imagine that, guys.
that agency allows them to do things that may not be, in line with, good outcomes for civilization, but it's certainly in line with their nature. You have the agency to
Money,
choose
muscles,
to.
and games still can't. Money.
Yeah,
What about
exactly.
money, muscles, games?
Well, it still doesn't change the fact that she can choose to exercise her natural self.
Yeah.
A woman can choose to follow her nature. Like, we don't talk about this enough. And female nature is very powerful, guys. I mean, every guy who's ever had a woman will tell you how powerful sex is. Okay. It is powerful and it is exotic. So, congrats to the chat for dunking on us up here on stream.
Well, we go back to we're talking about nature. Oh man, there's this thing, I know the cuck church, the effeminate church, even the most conservative Bible believing church. Yeah, they've thrown out most of them thrown out the head covering, abomination, by the way. Church history would pretty much all call you abominations, feminists. Yeah, that's where it comes from. Rejecting authority, rejecting tradition, rejecting proper worship, but also, oh, the long hair. Not only do we allow them to get rid of the veil, if you give them an inch, they take a mile. So now they have butch, short hair, pixie cut ladies in church. Even worse, abomination. Oh, but here it's talking about men in that context as well. In 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. It's referencing all this in regards to nature. Verse 14 says, doth not even nature itself teach you? Oh, gosh, guys, I guess you can learn stuff from nature like the red pill. Okay. Doth not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him? Maybe Rollo should listen to that, but I like Rollo, but hey.
Oh, that was mean.
I know. I couldn't help myself. I like his book. I like his work, but man, yeah, this does apply. Can't get around it. Yeah, nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto him. It's nature. And I like Rollo. He's a good guy. But, yeah, this verse still applies. You can't get around it. But nature, guys, nature. Don't be an idiot and just ignore the world. Beanie keeps it short attacking this. So okay, guys. Christians should study nature, should understand nature, because nature can teach you something. So should we just throw out the red pill, guys? The descriptors, the truth of nature? No. So we talked about
I would say, throw out the red pill at your own risk. If it's truth, it's going to come back and bite you in the ass.
Yeah, the Bible supports the red pill. The red pill's, I think, a moral good. We've discussed what the red pill is. And
now,
really,
okay,
the red problem is the descriptors, I think.
Let me point out something, a criticism of the red pill.
Okay.
Red pill is trying to understand truth, but not willing to go to the Bible and go deeper to understand the biblical side of things. So, okay, the nature is still going to act on people, but they're only willing to go so far. So they're missing the depth and the cohesiveness and how it all relates to the nature. The true nature. Sure. They're kind of stuck on behavior and thinking that you can modify or achieve a good result by acting in a certain way to affect the behavior of a woman. And maybe they're not really understanding the nature of women. Well, maybe more so they are, but they're not understanding the nature of themselves. They're staying a little bit too shallow. Okay,
Hey,
that's what I'm going to say. What do you say to that?
You sounded like you described something a little bit. I'm struggling with the phrase. What we covert something?
Covert contract?
Covert operative. No, Nick's got it. Covert contract.
Covert contract. If you're just running around thinking that women are video games that you control with a gamepad and a joystick, and you push buttons and things just magically happen, then that's a covert contract. It isn't you put X input in and you get Y output back. That's
Oh,
not how it works.
yeah. There's an old red pill phrase from the Dalrock days that describes this. Dance, monkey, dance.
Wait, didn't we do an
Dance
episode on
monkey
that recently too?
So,
I
in
don't know if
order
it's an
to
episode, but
cause a woman to behave in a certain way, you have to game her 24/7. You have to perform an favor for her to behave in a way. So you can never, ever let up your guard. So that's the problem with game because it's dance, monkey, dance. Well, there's some truth to that, but it's still kind of lacking in a certain way. Go ahead, Nick.
we've laid a foundation. Some of our audience are Christians, probably some aren't. But we've explained what the red pill is. We've explained, well, red pill's a moral good. The red pill presents truth, and the Bible supports the finding of truth in nature. But we're going to see again and again that it's really the truth that's the problem. The descriptors are the problem. So we had that episode. File that away in the back of your mind as we're going through some of this Dalrock. So we're bringing about what Dalrock thinks the manospheres, the red pill is, and how he interacts with some Christians and some more tradcons. So this is an article from Dalrock on May 15th, 2013. What is the manosphere? Anybody want to read it?
Where do you want me to start? I can read it. Do you want me to start with the quote or the actual article?
Let me just start right
I
here.
got to go check on the dog.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
So
Is it
he's
blown
got
up enough?
Yeah, it's blown up enough. It's just, do you want me to start with the quote at the top or the article from this Krauser PUA guy?
Oh, I'll just start. I generally shy away.
Okay. I generally shy away from focusing on definitions due to their tendency to take us into intractable rat holes. But the fact remains that definitions are important. In the case of the term manosphere, this is especially important because there is a tendency outside the sphere to mistake the manosphere for a collection of readers and writers who are in general intellectual agreement. There's a kernel of truth in that to that belief, but it misses the truly profound differences in worldviews held by the main schools of thought in the manosphere. With the breadth of opinions within the sphere in mind, I can only offer my own definition and allow an opportunity in the comments for those who want to have a different take or to have a different take to offer their own. One way to look at the manosphere is historically, and since the sphere itself is quite new, this only means a few years back. This isn't to say that those in the sphere have only been active for a few years, but the concept of the manosphere only goes back a few years to my knowledge. Just a year or two back, I would have offered a very simple definition of the sphere. If you were somewhat regularly included in Ferdinand Bartimeau's weekly link roundup, I would argue that this made you a de facto member of the manosphere. This is a very broad definition because Ferdinand drew from an incredible breadth of perspectives in his link roundup. I don't think it is an exaggeration to state that his link roundups played a central role in knitting together extremely different groups into a common conversation. And a conversation is what I would argue the manosphere really is. Perhaps more accurately, the manosphere is the place where the conversation occurs, not unlike the broader term blogosphere. By this definition, being a member of the manosphere doesn't suggest much about your point of view, but it identifies you as engaging in the discussion. However, while there is no such thing as a common manosphere orthodoxy, I would argue that's still true today. There are a set of core ideas held by nearly everyone in the manosphere. Interestingly, these aren't the ideas the sphere is commonly accused of being an echo chamber for. In fact, the ideas claimed to be the manosphere orthodoxy are where the biggest active faults exist within the sphere. Oh, interesting. Game is the most prominent example of this. There's significant disagreement on whether game works, and if it works, whether it is moral. I offer the 599 comment discussion in response to Kane Caldo's guest post on the topic and the heated semi-formal debates on the topic hosted by A Voice for Men. Likewise, the social pathologist has challenged the concept of the feminine imperative, as have Kane Caldo and many of my readers. Unlike game and the concept of the feminine imperative, what nearly everyone in the manosphere agrees on is the extensive tearing of the social contract by decades of feminist tinkering. For me, this is mostly about marriage and our adoption of a radically new model of the family. Interestingly, you can frame all of the main factions of the manosphere based on how they respond to the debasement of marriage. Oh, I would argue this is truer today than it was back then.
Yes.
While I point out the debasement of marriage in order to try to restore something precious, Royce makes it his life goal to enjoy all of the young sluts our society is sending his way while they postpone their search for a husband. In my post, Dating Stanton's Heroes, I showed how Professor Mentu similarly chooses to respond to the glut of mothers who eject their children's fathers from the home. Even here, though, Royce and Mentu understand how foolish the larger society is for allowing and encouraging all of this to happen. Oh, you mean you can enjoy the fact that young sluts exist and recognize that it's a really bad idea? Wow. This paradox is exemplified by the very kind comment from Krauser PUA quoted at the beginning of the post, which we didn't read. A third group looks at the destruction of traditional marriage and basically says, good riddance, MRA and MGTOW. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
As with any simplification, these descriptions of categories aren't perfect, and not everyone in the manosphere fits neatly into one category. Also, even within each category, there can be significant breadths of perspectives. Still, I like to think this description of the main camps of the sphere is roughly accurate and helps conceptualize the main differences between them. So we have three main groups, which all acknowledge feminism's radical change in the social contract while strongly disagreeing on how to respond to this reality. My own camp might be called the traditionalist segment of the manosphere, and we mourn the loss of marriage and are working to find solutions to shore up culture, laws, and the church, as well as specific steps individual men can take to reduce their exposure to the risk of frivolous divorce, going all the way
And
back.
aren't we doing that?
By this definition, we're probably in the traditionalist, but I would also argue we have a pretty heavy dose of MRA MGTOW because of our experience with the law.
Dalrock was not TradCon. He was traditionalist.
Yes.
I would side with Dalrock in our belief.
Yeah.
We are not TradCons.
No.
Who tend to dismiss the descriptors. Dalrock embraced the descriptors, but yet was traditional. Yeah, that's how I would describe myself.
Me too. And here's what happens. The same result that he's talking about is happening even now, especially with our group as well. When he says that, did you stop at any given time?
Yes.
Yeah. You can start
I can
again.
keep reading if you'd like.
Yes, it's good right there at any given time.
At any given time, and depending on the topic at hand, two of the three groups, traditional marriage, Royce's group, the slutmongers, and the MRA MGTOW, tend to be in agreement in disagreeing with the third group. However, this is very fluid, and the alliances are intellectual and topic specific. There's generally a baseline respect for the fact that these fault lines exist, which can initially make it shocking to read, say, an Orthodox Christian and a pickup artist reinforcing each other's intellectual arguments. Yeah, that would be jarring for
Yeah.
your average ChadCon. They absolutely
Yeah.
aren't in agreement with each other on the question of sexual morality, but there will be times they are in agreement on the facts, etc., of any given issue. Since these core fault lines are so intractable between the groups, there's generally some effort not to make them the focus of the discussion and agree to disagree. These dormant fault lines are always there, but some care is taken to avoid perpetually getting locked in the same discussions over core values. I just want to say that we should probably bring a little bit of this back. This mentality back would be a good idea. This doesn't mean the question is off the table. It just means that after so many rounds, everyone has already made their case. Absolutely. The closest there is to a manosphere orthodoxy involves acknowledging the reality of the new order and responding with something other than man up and marry those sluts. Oh my God, this article is 12 years old and we are still making the exact same arguments.
Oh, man.
Oh my God. Cross either of
Have you
those
seen
two.
the news lately? Man up and marry those former garden tools
Yeah.
that are now in the church.
Oh yeah, the whole Nala blow up this. God.
And everyone else.
Yeah.
Oh man, this is back in 2013.
Yes. This article is 12 years, well, almost 12 years old. Okay. Cross either of those two lines, and all three groups are in sudden agreement. You won't be run out of town on a rail, but I would offer that the manosphere is well prepared to engage in those discussions, and I've never seen anyone make a solid case for nothing to see here, folks, move along, or man up and marry those sluts. Dude, people are trying
started to get in the RP though. Some that started to sneak in the RP.
I am aware. I have a list of names, although that's not for public. Okay. There is a reason such divergent groups are participating together in a common conversation, which goes beyond the previous uniting effect of Ferdinand's Link roundup. Feminism has been so completely successful in changing the culture and taking over all of our social institutions that opposing feminism has become one of the great taboos of our society. Still true today. Making this
happened
worse.
To me in the church.
Yes.
Yep.
Making this worse, very few are even aware of this because the lion's share of feminist thinking is no longer thought of as feminist thinking. It is simply thought of as normal thinking, or more accurately, right thinking. He's riffing on Orwell here. Opposing feminism has become the heresy of our age, a thought crime few dare even contemplate. The sickness of feminism is everywhere, but it is most striking in our churches.
There you go. You retards in the church. You idiots. I'm not speaking to actually the mentally retarded, but those stupid idiots.
Because if you were speaking to the actual mentally retarded, you'd be doing them a grave disservice by putting these two in the same sentence.
Come on. Okay, this is profound, but everybody can think of this. You got friends. You get 3-4 guys together and you discuss something. Politics, something kind of heated. A lot of those guys won't agree with you. And the alliances or between you are very fluid. You can agree with another guy on this point against this guy over here. Then the conversation shifts and you agree with that guy against this guy. It's nothing. There are no permanent enemies.
Steve,
among men. With
feminists
women,
are my permanent enemies.
Once she's bad, it's permanent.
That's the longhouse.
Or once the man is bad, it's permanent.
Right.
Men don't
the longhouse is your permanent enemy.
The
Feminism is the
longhouse.
permanent enemy.
Once the longhouse decides that a man or woman is bad, she is bad forever, and for all things. So if you're a man,
I'm bad.
We all are here. If you're a man and you walk around with this attitude of I'm right, you're wrong, and everyone agrees with me, you're not a man. You're a feminist in a male skin suit, because that's how feminists operate. Feminists got as far as they did by convincing everyone that not only were they right, but that everyone else agreed with them that they were right. And they got everyone to agree to that by telling you that everyone agreed with them.
Now, in divorce, here's what happens. A woman will accuse you of some egregious sexual matter. He tried to grape me. Oh, he's a PDF file, or he has inclinations toward PDF files. And once, okay, that is just so strong. There's such an aversion to that all of a sudden, man bad. And now she builds upon that to therefore he's wrong about everything. And she is vindicated and blameless about everything. And yeah, there are some problems in her own heart between her and God that never see the light of day. Happens all the time.
Shu dropped an interesting comment in here. Being perceived as bad in a fallen world can be a great thing. Narrow path. It's the reference to the narrow path, I think, is key here. Yeah, if you're on the narrow path, the longhouse is going to decide you're bad. Chief, churches are full of pseudo husbands. I love it. Managerial nerds that can't figure out scripture or reality. They'd FOMO over Enron pre-collapse. Ouch. Oh, how. Burn. Love it, Chief. All right. So do you want me to continue?
Oh, yeah, because now we're starting. See, this is the Dalrock track. It's getting good.
All right. The cultural transformation has been so swift and so profound that most of what the Bible teaches on the topics of marriage and men and women is now quite literally unthinkable and unspeakable. This is, again, he's referencing Orwell here. In nearly all of polite Christian company, the biblical frame of marriage is simply too radical for all but a handful of pastors to preach. As a result, the conversations Christians have in the manosphere today cannot occur anywhere else. Yep. The basic misunderstanding of what the manosphere is becomes most visible when bloggers or commenters from outside the sphere are engaging someone from the manosphere either on a manosphere blog or especially an off-sphere blog. Part of the misunderstanding comes from how foreign and radical, even politely offered, moderately anti-feminist thinking is to those outside the sphere. Because opposing the new feminist order is even moderately is now so radical, and there are multiple camps participating in the conversation, those from outside the manosphere very often initially badly misread whom they are interacting with. For example, it isn't uncommon for very solid traditional members of the manosphere to be misidentified as either PUA or MGTOW. Yes, have experienced that.
Or black pill even.
Yeah, oh yes, experienced lots of that. Even when their arguments are clearly traditional. For those who are new to the manosphere, I would suggest being aware of how different the participants tend to be in any given discussion, and not to mistake agreement by two individuals on a point of fact to necessarily indicate broader agreement than is really there.
Oh, so the red pill is all degenerate, guys.
No.
How many times have we come across that?
Oh, many.
And they're talking about the pickup artist.
Nick, you said something many months ago, and I've stuck with it. What was it you said? No enemies to the right of me?
Right. That's correct. Netter. Yeah.
I might not agree with everything that people in the red pill practice. This does not stop me from talking to them. It does not stop me from agreeing with them. It also does not stop me from calling them out. And you can see all of that in what Dalrock is talking about here. There were
Yes.
violent disagreements amongst these people. But where there was agreement, the agreement was absolute. And it for the people coming in, it's, they see two people fighting, and the people on the outside, they look at this, and as Dalrock is talking about, oh, these radical people, how dare they say these things? And they see two people fighting, and they think, oh, I can exploit that. They disagree, and then they get blown up when the two people who are disagreeing both turn to the person and go, "You fucking idiot," and they agree, and then the person's like, "But you were just disagreeing." Yeah. We were having a disagreement over how we might approach a specific problem, or what a specific description should actually be defined, on the basis of their own worldview. But they did not agree on the core tenets, or they did not disagree on the core tenets.
Yeah. The data's still there.
The nature is still there.
Right. All right. So that is the end of that one. So, man, he really got the manosphere correct. I'm not saying it's 100% correct, but back in 2013, that's what the manosphere and guess what you call early red pill was.
Steve, would you agree with Dalrock's assessment of the red pill back in your time?
Yeah, well, that's how men operate today.
Mm-hmm.
And, no enemies to the right. There was 2 months ago, 4 months ago, there was a controversy. It was manosphere adjacent. Oh, what's the pastor's name? Joel Weber?
Joel Webben.
Joel Webben. Okay, Joel Webben. He said something. Yeah. He was kind of attacked for many things, but he was kind of accused of also being anti-Semitic, and he's really not. He's not, okay? But Doug Wilson and some guy in the UK, there was this big kerfuffle, and this concept of no enemies to the right was thrown out as bad. And what was that? What's that stance they had? What's the name for it? Damascus or something. They came out with some statement.
What was that? The one that
statement?
The what?
The Antioch statement.
Yes, the Antioch statement.
Wasn't that Doug
everybody?
Yeah,
well, he was affiliated.
Okay.
And I think he signed it. He wasn't the source of that. Joel no, it was anti-Joe. It was against him. And it was superficially, well, I can go along with this. No, secretly it was subversive. And then they brought up this no enemies to the right. So it was this group that started infighting. Well, gee, have we ever seen that in the manosphere?
Yeah.
A bunch of infighting among men who generally agree with each other? Yeah, okay. Nothing new here, folks. That doesn't That doesn't damn
Egos.
us all.
It's the ego.
Men have egos, okay? We
Yeah.
get into scraps and disagreements. Okay. What else is new?
Yeah. I agree there. I'll move on to the next one. Get my mouse to work here. Spazzing out on me. Sometimes like some of those in the Manosphere spurg out.
You know, as you're switching, I was around in these Dalrock days. Dalrock would post these things and we would read it. And then
I'll skip that one.
and oftentimes we would forget what he talked about and or it was some trigger statement in there. And then there would be a discussion of 100 to 200 comments. And biggest function Dalrock served was a host for the discussions. Yes, these articles were great, but often the wisdom of the article was overlooked because people were too busy or eager to get to the comments. And you know what?
Yeah.
I'll say I was guilty of that.
The comments were sort of a community.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that was kind of your friends, and it was a fun place because, I remember challenging Kane Caldo. You mentioned Kane Caldo in that post, or that was in there. Oh, yeah, I tangled with him. We commented back and forth, and it was fun. And, you had your guys you didn't agree with, and you had challenged, and you had your allies, and sometimes they would change. But mostly, you know who your guys were and who you were arguing against. It was a really fun community. There's nothing like that out there today.
So Chief dropped a comment and I was reading when I saw it, but I want to pull it up here because it's a good quote. He's talking about polite Christian company. 9 times out of 10 is the coarse word that condemns an evil and the refined word that excuses it. And we spend an awful lot of time, particularly around women, trying to excuse. And so we use refined language. People say, "Oh, we've heard this. Oh, you guys swear too much." Okay.
Yeah. Sure. All right.
I'd rather call a whore than sit there and dance around it so that the whore don't feel bad about being a whore.
Maybe she's just a lady with round heels. Okay, for you younger guys, you maybe don't know. Oh, she has round heels. What does that mean? Means she falls over on her back very easily. That's all.
So yes, I'm going to be uncouth on this channel. This channel is marked as being, not safe for children because, well, it's not. But we're
dangerous man.
Yeah, we are. And we're going to disagree with the red pill. We're going to disagree with we're going to have disagreements. I don't mind that. I actually enjoy it. But I'm not seeing the same pushback to the outside interlocutors, the people coming in. We're too busy, and we're too busy fighting over our differences now. And I think Coach Greg Adams called that out recently. He did a video on that. So yeah, we're starting to notice that the red pill ain't what it used to be. All right, Nick, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, I started off the show with one of the things that one of Steve's episodes. Put in the back of your mind the descriptors are the problem. I'll read this. Is the fear of women the beginning of wisdom? This is from Dalrock in May 16th, 2016. Christian economist Dr. P. Murphy explains in an essay for Christian men that although what most call red pill observations are on the whole accurate, knowledge of the truth is highly dangerous. While Dr. Murphy and I no doubt agree that learning from pickup artists carries the risk that a man will lose his fear of God and follow the pickup artist into sexual immorality, Murphy's prime concern is that the Christian men will damn themselves by losing their fear, or if you prefer, reverence of women. This is the quote. The reason lonely young men end up delving into the ranks of pickup artists, either from professionals or just in their own peer groups by hanging out with guys who are good with girls, is that they have eyes. They can see quite clearly that sending flowers to a crush does absolutely nothing, while other guys are known as notorious cheaters and have girls randomly showing up at their apartments. But since I'm directing this essay at you, a Christian, I can tell you frankly that these techniques and advice are literally from the devil. Yes, it is true that if you can actually train yourself to look at women, accept your mom and sisters, of course, as less than human, so that you are no longer afraid of their opinion of you, then your long career of striking out will be over. You will go from being terrified of beautiful women to knowing how to spot the ones that are incredibly insecure, who spend hours getting ready because they think they need to in order. It's as an out again. They need to in order to deserve attention from men. So the incredibly insecure who spend hours getting ready because they think they need to in order to deserve attention from men. You will laugh at your old self who somehow was intimidated by a half-naked 115-pound creature in heels. What was your problem? It is the pedestal, not sexual. So that's the end quote. And Alrock continues
Okay.
saying, it is the pedestal, not sexual morality, that fears Murphy most fears will be lost if Christian men learn the truth about women's sexual nature.
And he said that at the beginning of his quote.
Yes.
He literally
Murphy said that.
Yes.
Scroll back up. Scroll
Yes.
back up. I wanna emphasize this. He talks about sending flowers and that it does nothing. But then, okay, third sentence, second paragraph. Yes, it is true that you can actually train. Okay, well, that's kind of a tell that everything there was truth. But you're not supposed to act that way, guys. You're supposed to still be the pathetic simp who sends flowers. No, nothing to see here, folks.
So
Move
Nick,
on.
this article was written in 2015, right? If I remember.
2016.
2016. Okay, so 9 years old. Okay.
Yes.
What he is talking about here is exactly why the tradcons refuse to engage with the red pill. I'm remembering that I'm going to have to pull this up at some point. I've got the video somewhere, but it was Matt Walsh doing this roundtable thing with the rest of the Daily Wire crowd, and he said, "Well, I won't even name them because I don't want to give them I don't want to give them that much clout or credit." He said something to that effect. Sorry, guys, this was February of last year, and I'm sitting here thinking, of course you don't, because if you ever actually engaged with them, you would be forced to wrestle with the ideas that they are putting forth, with the observations that they are bringing to you. And in doing so, you would be forced to question not your Christianity, although that's what you'll say you're questioning. No, you will be forced to question the programming that the feminist programming that you have imbibed for decades, that you
Right.
have drank, that you have glutted. Yeah, gluttony. They have glutted themselves at the trough of feminism. And then they have the audacity to call themselves anti-feminists. They couldn't define feminism if you threatened them, if you threatened to beat them to death. Okay. They couldn't define it because go back to the first article. Dalrock's talking about, that the very concepts, that feminism might be bad is now the concept of feminism is now considered normal and good thought, right thought. So even being moderately anti-feminist now makes you a radical subversive who should be ejected from any real conversation. And that's why the tradcons hate us. I would argue that the tradcons hate us more than the left does, because we represent a threat, to the feminists. Yeah, we represent a threat to everything they believe, but it's kind of like they know we exist. We hate them, they hate us. The tradcons are angry because we have the answers, we have the solutions that they don't have. We're a threat
Well,
to their existence.
the feminists are just in opposition. And and it's not part of their core. They have to understand what we say. But if the descriptors are the problem, and they are, it's really a big threat to the Christians. Doesn't this indicate that a lot of modern Christians have a very shallow view of Christianity,
Yes.
and the truth
So,
unsettles them?
oh, guys, I'm gonna do something.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
guys, we've been talking about truth, right? And they, and Dalrock says it is the pedestal, not sexual morality, that Murphy, you could say tradcons, most fears and be lost if Christian men learn the truth about women's sexual nature. The descriptors are the problem, and the church is this in regards to women, right? The sexual dynamics between men and women, and the fallen nature that both men and women do and how they act out. Sure, the red pill understands these things. They've investigated, and there's truth, there's swap notes, there's data, there's science, all that stuff. This is what they do with men and women in marriages. They are the blind leading the blind. They've plucked out their own eyes from the truth. So how can they think to lead anybody into the truth? Matthew 15, verse 14 says, let them alone. They be blind leaders of the blind. If the blind lead the blind, both shall fall into the ditch.
I mean, it's fun to throw scripture at each other, particularly in the tradcon space. But somebody needs to come out and say, look, these guys don't have the answer, and they're never going to have the answer because they cannot accept the descriptions. They need women. They need to be afraid of, as this guy says, a half naked 150-pound creature. They need that.
Whoa, wait a minute. Is she naked?
Well, we don't know what vices these fellows on Daily Wire are given to.
True enough.
But even if they are blameless in the eyes of the Lord in terms of sexual vice, what they're doing to other men, like one of the things about that interview that really stuck with me was when Jeremy Boring says, well, men, we just need you to get married and have kids right now because we have this demographic problem, and taking care of the family law situation. Look, that's going to take, it's going to take 20 years. He said it's going to take a long time, decades probably. He said something like that. And we just need you to do this now, and then we will get to that eventually. This is what they have.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is not in the begatting of children. Begatting? It's in the raising of children.
Yes.
Doesn't matter how many children you have to increase the population if you as a father are not around to raise the children.
Yep.
Because
Steve,
you know what?
Steve, wait a minute.
Statistics just say if a child is raised by a single mother, outcome is not good. It's in the raising of children, not in the begatting of children.
But
That's where the problem is.
Steve, the most important, biggest calamity of our age is the fact that the line of birth rates does not go up. We need children by any means necessary. Marry the church whore. Marry the single mommy. We need you to be pumping out children so that line go up.
But what they're doing is what Dalrock says here is worshiping women. They don't care about the men. They act like they care about the family. No, it's like
correlation is not causation.
slapping a
You may
Band-Aid
not
on.
see that directly, but the correlation between men not fathering children, yeah, okay, there's a correlation there. But the causation of our problems is in the lack of men raising their children, mostly because they are restricted from raising their children. They are removed. It's
only a flesh
aspect.
wound.
It's not the man's
It's only
fault.
a flesh wound.
He cannot fulfill his duty to raise his children because the ultimate authority over his children and his family has been given over to the state. And the state is evil when it comes to families.
Yes.
I'm just saying, by experience and observation, the state is evil towards children.
They are. They are evil towards children.
So, Tacticus, trust us. The rescue is on the way. Trust the TradCon plan. Don't you dare try to self-rescue or learn. Trust the plan.
It's only a flesh wound, guys. Here's a Band-Aid.
Wait.
Okay, if you've seen Monty Python,
I have.
The correlation to that is, yes, they're the deep state. The deep state exists, but the white hats are going to save us. It's this group of people out there, the white hats, who are actively engaged against the deep state. We just have to trust that they have our best interest in mind. So we don't need to do anything. Just trust, okay? Go back to sleep and trust, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And
they did the same crap to me in church. Just trust the process. Just trust the process. Meanwhile, you got Revoice and these like homo pastors, effeminate pastors, all this crazy crap going on. No, you can't talk about that. Just trust the plan. Just don't make waves. Don't try to fix anything. Don't try to speak the truth. No. Just trust the process. Trust the plan. And by the way, your local PCA that I got in trouble for preaching on Leviticus 18. Yeah, we're apparently encouraging people to evade ICE by certain ways. Now, of course, they repented from it, they say. But yeah, that's your Gertch for you as is that Chief of Sinners? No, that's Tacticus, it says. Gertch. Oh, the Gertch talks us. Oh, I'll get back to Dalrock now.
Hey, Nick,
We're getting off
before we
track.
go there,
What? All right.
do you know who Edmund Burke is?
Yeah.
Okay, an 18th century Irish statesman. His quote is, "The only thing necessary for the triumph of evil is for good men to do nothing."
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Chief of Sinners says something here that trust the process equals as obtuse as the warden of the Shawshank prison. I was going to say something similar to this, Chief. You got it. Trust the process has become this sort of call to go away. Like, don't engage. We know what we're doing. We're the experts. You're stupid. Your eyes are lying to you. It's like, no, your eyes are not lying to you. The reality is that,
it's our modern call to inaction.
yes, exactly. Go to sleep.
Magic wand erased the lady's past. The magic wand of baptism, the magic wand of finding Jesus erased everything of her past. She's a born again virgin. Trust the process. Magic
Pay no
wand.
attention to the man behind the curtain, right?
Right. I think I got that from Pearl, so credit goes to her for that. So.
Yeah, and
Magic
I
wand.
of course was quoting the Wizard of Oz. Now,
right.
The reason I'm quoting the Wizard of Oz because that is not a new movie. It's actually quite old. But it goes to show that this idea of ignore what your eyes see has been around for a very long time. There's nothing new that these people are trying. Nothing new to offer you. They have the same old platitudes. They have the same old tired non-solutions. They have the same old heresies and misinterpretations of the Bible.
Like right here.
Okay. Go for it, Nick. Take it away.
All right. So he continues saying, Dalrock, Murphy is far from alone in his pronounced reverence for women. Worshipping women is extremely common in modern Christianity, so much so that it isn't seen as odd or noteworthy. Moreover, the modern Christian improvement on biblical marriage is the introduction of the wake up call to make husbands fear their wives. Fearing women, however, is not something that the Bible teaches. Christians are to fear God, and wives are to fear their husbands. As every Christian feminist's favorite verse in Ephesians 5 explains, Christians in general are to submit to one another in fear, also translated as reverence of God, submitting yourselves to one another in the fear of God. A bit later in Ephesians 5, 33, Paul explains that a wife is to fear, also translated as reverence, her husband. But each individual man among you must love his wife as he loves himself, and may the wife fear her husband. Interestingly, in some translations, fear is used in verse 21, while reverence is used in verse 33, as is the case with the King James Version. Submitting yourselves one to another in the fear of God. Nevertheless, let every one of you in particular so love his wife even as himself, and the wife see that she reverence her husband. Other times we see it the other way around, as in the case of the ISV. I think he meant like that. Yeah. The International Standard Version. He says, and you will submit to one another out of reverence for the Messiah, but each individual man among you must love his wife as he loves himself, and may the wife fear her husband. This is not to say that Dalrock says, this is not to say that Christian wives are to worship their husbands as Christian men today so often worship women, but clearly there is a healthy reverence wives are instructed to have for their husbands in line with headship and submission. Yet again, we see that modern Christians have come up with a cross-dressing theology by inverting the proper relationship between husband and wife. So what they'll do a lot of times is you got to love me as Christ loves the church, and it's mutual submission. That's where the feminists go, the mutual submission, verse 21.
Okay, let me give a lesson to all you men out there. I met my second wife in the manosphere. We were both bloggers. We participated. We participated together on the Dalrock forums. He read this stuff. He believed it. We talked about it. It was all, we were in total agreement. He saw all the examples of frivolous divorce. And she was against those women. And then she did it to me.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, okay, you can find the unicorn. Oh, yeah. Oh, she believes all this stuff. Yeah, she'll never divorce me.
Well, Steve,
Yeah.
a unicorn is a powerful exotic animal, isn't it? With a
It
really
is. And a
pointy
woman,
horn.
it's a woman's prerogative to change her mind. But
Yes.
a man is only as good as his word.
Well,
Flip those. Is it a man's prerogative to change his mind? That
No.
makes no sense. Is a woman only as good as her word? That makes no sense. Okay. Enough said. Thus ends today's lesson.
Well, I actually like the use of the word reverence here because fear, particularly in the modern parlance, gets overhyped and overused, and women have a sort of preternatural, visceral reaction to it. Yeah. And but now, of course, the feminists will absolutely hate the word reverence, which is interesting that you don't see that word used in more modern translations, even though the King James is much more chronologically closer to the original Greek and Aramaic. But the word reverence, I think, is actually a word that we in the red pill and the manosphere in general, and even if you're not red pill or manosphere, you're adjacent to it. Like I would say, okay, Andrew, stop using the word fear, start using the word reverence for men. The feminists are going to absolutely shit themselves, over the use of that word, but it doesn't have the same, it doesn't have the same sort of negative connotations, I think, that fear does.
But let me say this about fear. Why do you stop at stop signs? Like at 4 a.m. You look around, there's nobody there. Oh, it's a stoplight, a red light. Nobody around. Or there's a stop sign. Why do you stop? Oh, it's for fear of being pulled over and given a ticket. Okay, I guess I'll comply. Oh, is fear a bad thing? No, we all fear, and it can be on a very minuscule level, but it's a boundary. It governs our behavior. Fear,
Steve,
is not this huge, scary thing.
Steve, I want to pull on this thread a little bit because I was actually reading about the generational stuff that we've talked about before, and there was an interesting observation made about the greatest generation. That as a generation, they would always stop for the stoplight. 4 a.m, nobody on the road. There's not a cop there's not a cop for 5 miles around, right? And they would stop. And when the younger generations asked them why, it was not out of fear of the law and getting pulled over. The guy probably actually knew the cop, and they would probably have a conversation if he ever did get pulled over. But it was out of reverence for the intent behind the law. And what now? And another thing that this noted is that we have, as we've gone through time, we have lost this, and people run stop signs and lights a lot more now, and I've seen it too. I've seen it happen in front of me. It's wild. But
That's
so
very useful. Fear and reverence are very closely related, as you illustrated.
yes,
Well, they
they
could say
are.
godly fear tends to translate into reverence. So it's a
That yeah, Nick, that's actually a good way to, you revere God because you fear God is kind of what you're getting at.
no, it's yeah, you respect his office and authority, you respect his power, but also you're not it's not a form of terror. That's what I was saying. It's not a form of
Yeah,
terror.
yeah.
It's respect for the power and authority. And
Right.
also there should be also perhaps that, oh, and he loves me too.
Yeah. Fear isn't always a negative thing. Fear in just human biological terms is there to help protect you from wrecking yourself. Oh, like running the red light at the intersection, because there could be another car that's got the green light, doesn't see you and T-bones you, right? Like, so there is
Yeah.
so fear is not inherently a bad thing, but we have told particularly women that not only is fear a terrible thing, but that men are the most fearful creatures on this planet. Not even the bear. We talked about the bear on a little bit on Saturday, right? Not even the bear
Yes, we did.
is to be as feared as a man. So of course women are going to treat us men as if we are the most horrible creatures to ever exist, and are everything. And but the reason the feminists did it is because they need women to believe that everything men do has an agenda that is directly targeted towards making women's lives worse.
Plutarch, haven't you made the point about changing of definitions removes
Yes.
concepts from a language and
Mhm.
is oppressive in that manner?
I have. I need to. So that's called. I actually looked this up. It's called Sapir-Whorf. The Sapir-Whorf theory, and it's this idea that if you can change the language, you can completely change things. If I take away a word and the human no longer has the word, then they cannot even begin to mentally express the concept. That's true for abstractions. It is not true for things that are just in front of you. So the theory, it turns out, has some pretty significant limits to it. And this is why you will see these feminists who go out there and they will,
Limits on troons too.
yes. And these feminists, they'll go out there and they will wax poetic about how horrible men are, and then immediately turn around and say, yeah, but my guy, he's not, my guy's pretty good. I like my guy. That's what that is, because they have a real interaction with the man they're around, but all of these other men are abstractions. And there's an interesting corollary here to the rise of social media. The rise of social media has made people more abstract. It's made, which is why it's easier to have this idea where I can just change the definition of a word, and the people themselves will be unable to reason the old way. But it always runs up against the reality that you're living in. And a large part of what the left was doing up until the election was this. There's actually a term for it. It's called preference falsification. It's this idea that if I can convince you that my preferences are in fact the majority, then you will be forced to just go along with them and agree with them. It's what we were talking about at the beginning of the stream. The problem is, of course, it eventually bursts when reality, truth, all of that enters the picture, and people are like,
The gator chomps down on Fluffy.
yeah,
No
exactly.
matter how much you
Yes.
try to convince that the gator is harmless, because they
Yeah,
I'm gonna
we were
bring my
talking
little
about,
dog to the gator and
right.
chomp. Here comes reality.
So, so reality always intrudes. And
Yeah.
that is where the feminists have failed. That is where the feminists will keep failing. But, as fun as it is to rag on feminists, the reality is where the tradcons have failed worse than the feminists, because the feminists, I know what the feminists are all about, but the tradcons have the audacity to sidle on up to me and preach all these sweet nothings in my ear about how if I just ignore this and I just ignore this, that, and marry that single mommy, or, you know, get yourself a reformed whore because she's reformed now, and doesn't she, and God loves her and he forgives her, and so you should too. Bullshit.
Well, you can
Objective
forgive her.
bullshit.
That's fine. That doesn't mean you have to marry her.
Well, but they conflate the two.
That's between her and God. Yeah.
Well, but
Yeah.
and that's what they're doing. They, you know, we Nick, I don't remember where this was, but it was described in the Bible as the devil having the sweetest tongue or something like that. You know,
He also appears as an angel of light. Yeah.
yes. So when the tradcons come up to me and they start preaching these sweet nothings in my ear about how, you know, all I need to do is this and that, and they wear the cloak of righteousness of Christ, right?
Mm-hmm.
And here and all I can think now is, get thee behind me, Satan.
Yeah.
That is actual devil. You know, the feminists, I'm not
These are
going to say
not the droids you're looking for.
you know, I'm not going to say the feminists are not of the devil, but the feminists are so obvious to see and recognize, and I can look at it and go, you're evil, and here's why. Right? The tradcons, no. The tradcons, they come up beside you and they whisper these sweet platitudes in your ear. And as men, we are desperate to hear these things. We men want to believe that women are these pure beings of light.
No.
Well, and so we
I mean, they might
are.
have been able to get away with some of that illusion back when they had fathers and society punished whoredom and fornication, and they
Yeah.
had arranged marriages, more or less.
Hey, surprisingly, I'm going to come to the defense of the tradcons before I trash them.
Please do.
The problem is not in man up and marry those whores. Go ahead. But the problem is, you guys don't understand. Marriage doesn't exist. At least traditional marriage. In modern marriage, a man has to implicitly trust the woman, and he gives over all his power to the woman. By modern law, she can't make any accusation against him and deprive him of his children and of his money, get alimony and child support beyond what he is actually making, because he can have imputed income. He can turn him into a slave and just absolutely devastate him. He can take everything from him. He gives all his power. In traditional marriage, the man retains the authority. In modern marriage, the man gives up his authority and he becomes subservient just by nature of the law. The marriage is not the problem. Okay, a man in the past, 100 years ago, could marry a whore. If he is a bad woman or whatever, he could mostly retain his money and absolutely retain his children. That's not the case now. So the marriage is not the problem. It's the redefinition of marriage. So you tradcons who say, well, marriage is good. Yeah, maybe. But in the past, the man did not have the consequences of marrying a bad woman that a man has to bear today. That's what you guys don't understand. And there is no way, no matter how good she appears today, that you have any assurance that you can give her power over your future and rest, be safe. It doesn't work. And that's the big flaw today.
I said that, didn't I, somewhere? Yeah.
I think we've all said something like that at some point.
Yeah.
But yes, Nick, how many episodes have you done on, or you've said something? You did Quarrelsome Church Wives. We did Reporting Church Leaders. I think we mentioned that in both of those.
Man Bad Church and a few others. I think I said that on Pearly Things as well. Basically what Steve just said. So, yeah.
No, so you know what?
And
These
Steve was an
tradcons are gonna
influence
say,
behind that too. So,
tradcons are going to say, well, Steve just hates women. No, I don't.
no.
I actually like women,
Yeah.
but just won't give a woman power over me. Now, if you tradcons want to do that, you go ahead. But I've learned my lesson. Doesn't turn out good.
See,
I believe in my moral guidance and my nature, how God created me with dominion to watch over with authority and mercy. And you know what? When a woman has power, I have not recognized any mercy coming from a woman in power.
I don't think they're capable of it. Shu just dropped a comment in here, and I want to pull this one up. Another issue. Tradcons say we have only a spiritual problem and not a legal or political one. Don't have don't have divine right of godly kings anymore, dude. Feminist democracy now. The
longhouse is the bureaucracy.
yes, and specifically the tradcons. This is actually a really good way of saying it, because the tradcons desperately do not want to look at the problems that they could choose to solve. It goes back to Jeremy
Nope.
Boring saying, "Oh, well, we'll get to that at some point."
No, you won't.
Exactly. But here's the thing. This is one they could solve. The Daily Wire
Yep.
has enormous pull with elected leadership. Okay. He just like they if Daily Wire wanted it, they could get 10 senators on their side tomorrow for anything they want. And I know we kind of dig at their subscriber numbers a little bit, but I know a lot of boomers who listen to them. A lot. Okay. The Daily Wire could solve this problem if they wanted to. They are choosing not to for the express purpose of worshiping women, which is of the devil, which is of Satan.
Yes.
Okay,
Guys.
a little bit of a history lesson. Do you guys know what the John Birch Society is or was?
I've
I've
heard
heard
that
of it, but I don't
name.
know what it is.
Okay, I'm speaking from memory here. In the 50s, there was a very conservative movement concerned about where things were going. So this group was formed, the John Birch Society, kind of libertarian, traditionalist. Everybody signed up. Yes, we're going to preserve the status quo. As it turned out, it's been strongly suggested, I don't know if it's proven, but it was an infiltration of the movement to get everybody to sign up for this belief. So, number one, they could identify everybody. Number two, they could talk about it, but not do diddly squat. So,
You're talking about
the Daily
redirection, right?
Wire? What?
You're talking about redirection, right? You take
Redirection. You put somebody in as leader of the movement. Oh, the Daily Wire. They're conservative. They're talking about stuff that matters to me. Okay, great. And you believe them, but yet they don't do anything, and they don't go to the source of the problem and don't address it because that's not their mission. They are put in leadership as a distraction to stop you from actually doing what
the
or realizing what the problem is. Now, is that happening here? I don't know. It's speculation.
I wouldn't call it distraction so much as I would call it a pressure relief valve. They're trying to, if that's the goal is to sedate. The goal would be to get you to not engage. And they do that by
follow
giving
the
you
Daily
a
Wire
to,
and trust the
vent.
plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Disengage,
Meanwhile,
go
doing
back to
nothing.
sleep. Yeah, and yeah, exactly, Nick. Meanwhile, you do nothing.
Same thing in the church.
Yep.
All right, we need to get back on topic. We're running out of time, guys. So this is it's non-tenant. I think he did a book with Michael Foster. He apparently interacted with Dalrock back in the day. They had a book. I think it's Good to Be a Man. I actually liked the book, but they took some red pill truths and they incorporated it. But you still see here they refuse to see women as they are. They might help men develop themselves, but they're still blue pilled on the nature of women. He says, what is the blue pill? This is December 31st, 2018 by Dalrock. Blogger Non recently took a catty swipe at this blog in the larger Christian men's sphere in a 16-part tweet. So he does this one tweet here on a 16. There are lots of folks calling themselves red pill Christians. This is no better than feminist Christians or social justice Christians or gay affirming Christians or whatever other idol of wokeness someone has discovered in the world and then attached Christianity to. Okay. The red pill acolyte is inducted into an elect group, gains hidden wisdom and secret doctrines, becomes part of a justified minority. So the red pill is a modern mystery cult. Pairing it with Christianity just produces a Christian knockoff of that cult. Many RP Christians are those of whom Peter warns us. They speak loud boasts of folly, enticing by sensual passions of the flesh those who are barely escaping from those who live in error. They promise them freedom, but they themselves are slaves of corruption. And he also says, this is obvious if you read discussions on blogs like Dalrock. The eagerness with which they violate the principles of Ephesians 5 is startling to behold. There is as much contempt for women there as for men on feminist forums, and as little fear of God before their eyes. Huh.
It's so the particularly tweet number 5 there, the attempt to compare compare the red pill to a cult. We are so far gone from the truth that searching for the truth has become like being like associating yourself with a cult to these people. And this is a tradcon talking.
Making observations about the world and looking at data and trying to help men makes you a cult. Okay.
That's what he's saying.
Here's a problem. He is saying that this is Gnostic.
I know that's a knock. He's charging.
You guys know the term. Gnostic. Hidden knowledge.
Yes.
Gnostic.
Yeah.
No, this is not Gnostic. It's apparent for anyone with eyes to see. There's no hidden knowledge here. It's just discussion of what's in front of us.
Well, Steve, but if this is not hidden knowledge, then do we have a word for what happens when somebody comes along and tries to say that what we see with our own eyes is in fact not the truth? I mean, it's not Gnosticism in its own right, but it's that, because that's really what he's saying here is you need don't believe your lying eyes, right? Listen to me and don't believe
Yep.
your lying eyes. Like,
He doesn't attack the data. He doesn't attack the observations.
correct.
He attacks everything.
He attacks Dalrock in
Yeah.
this particular case, but he attacks all
So
of us
the
by extension.
word that comes to mind is gaslighting. He's gaslighting us.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. We'll roll with that.
And then
calls it woke, and
paragraph
he associates. Look
13.
at how he associates this. No, look at point 1 first. Then we'll go 30. No better than feminist Christian social, but he doesn't say why it's bad. He just says that's what he's associating us with, these other people.
It's a rhetorical framing device, that is.
Yes.
Oh, and he comes back to that same device in 13. They violate the principles of Ephesians 5. How?
Contempt for women.
Assuming facts not in evidence.
That's what he says, right?
Contempt for women? Do we have contempt for women? Maybe contempt.
No.
For
I don't.
behavior of women, theoretically.
I have contempt for feminists, but not for women in general. No.
Contempt of whores?
The red pill helps you. Yes. The red pill helps men appreciate women for who they are, not who you wish them to be.
But that's the evil, Nick. That's the evil.
It's the behavior of women, not the women themselves. They're fallen creatures. They're in need of God's salvation. Yes,
sure.
They're not under proper guidance. Yeah, left to their own devices, they get into really nasty situations and behave badly. But I don't hate women.
No.
I'm still looking for the unicorn.
Hey. He also says red pill is reactionary, negative movement. Oh, you mean the truth came out somewhere because you ignored it? No, imagine that.
Hey, the truth never disappears.
Well,
right.
Maybe there's a problem. Let me try figure out why there's a problem. Oh, I guess that's a bad thing to do. And then try to course correct. Oh, that's a bad thing to do too. Oh, try to make men's lives better. Oh, that's bad too. Okay.
Oh, okay. What is it? Plato's cave analogy?
Yeah, okay.
Go back. Nothing to see here, folks. Go back to watching the shadows on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
The blue pill. The blue pill.
The blue pill. Yep.
Go back to watching the shadows on the wall. Don't escape the cave. Ignore the truth. Oh, then he gets to this interesting thing about chivalry. What we call chivalry is the original reaction. He says, no, red pill wasn't the original reaction. Actually, he takes his tactic and throws it against him here. That's what Dalrock's doing. He's taking he's throwing his words in his face. So he says, no, red pill's just a negative reaction. No, he's like, well, there actually was an original reaction. That was chivalry. What we call chivalry is the original reaction. Chivalry was reacting to against Christian sexual morality. Chivalry, courtly love, was originally a parody of Christianity, ostensibly a game of reversing Christian teachings regarding men, women, and sex. Where Christianity taught that it was marriage that made sex and sexual desire moral, courtly love taught that the only pure expression of sexual passion occurred within adultery. Where Christianity taught that wives were to submit to their own husbands in fear and reverence, courtly love taught men to submit to other men's wives in fear and reverence. What was pure was portrayed as perverse, and what was bawdy was portrayed as pure. It was a truly devious joke, but quite quickly, Christians started seeing the parody not as a devious joke, but as the real deal. Here we are over 800 years later, and conservative Christians regularly present the morality of courtly love as if it were legitimate Christianity. This pops up in the most astounding ways, including Pastor Doug Wilson, that's the guy, the Antioch statement, teaching that if a husband properly loves his wife, she'll become more physically beautiful. All emphasis mine. He quotes Doug Wilson here. When husbands
Hey, hold
undertake
on.
the assigned responsibility, all right.
Before you read that, yeah, chivalry. You guys familiar with this, with the story Tristan and Isolde?
Yes.
Chivalry there, courtly love there,
Oh, yes.
adultery. Okay, just want to draw that parallel. Now you can go on, Nick.
All right. So this is Doug Wilson's quote. When husbands undertake the assigned responsibility of loving their wives in such a way that they grow in loveliness, they need to understand that the results will be visible. This does not mean that with the right husband, all women could be equally beautiful. Some women have the advantage of greater natural beauty, and others had exceptional fathers, men who treated their daughters right. But it does mean that a man who marries biblically should expect his wife to be visibly lovelier on their 10th anniversary. And if she is not, he knows that he is the one responsible. But as this one responsible, he has to know where true beauty begins. Every husband should learn how to ask, what will living with a man like me do to this woman's appearance?
Nick. I just had I had to. This reminds me of spell casting,
Yeah.
which literal witchcraft. This idea that if that your wife should be more beautiful 10 years into the relationship, despite the fact that gravity exists. Okay,
Yes.
but it
Chief of sinners. I'm sorry.
joke. Go ahead. Perfect.
Okay, I have another thing that came to my mind.
Right
This
on
is
point. Okay, keep going.
this
Keep going.
is a
Guys.
this is another aspect. It's kind of like the sexual health and wealth gospel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Right. But it just it struck me how Wilson framed his argument. It struck me as spell casting. I cast a spell on myself that I will see my wife is more beautiful 10 years later, after 10 years of gravity has taken its toll. Simply and if I don't,
Just
I am the evil one. If I see the reality of her nature, I am the evil one. Guys, this isn't Christianity. This is some sort of weird cult.
hey, you gotta love them sagging tits down to the floor.
Hey,
I'm just,
and
that's beautiful,
okay,
man. More beautiful
Doug
than the perky
Wilson.
ones.
Doug Wilson was held up as, oh, he's a great pastor. He's one that men should listen to. Okay, back then, he's a little bit at odds. And as I talked about, and Nick mentioned, Joel Webben and Doug Wilson kind of at odds. There's some things about Doug Wilson. Nope, can't go there. And I'm not in full agreement with Joel Webben. I think he gets some things wrong. But, as we talked about in the Manosphere, there were three sides. You know what? I'll side with Joel on this. Because on this aspect, we're in agreement. And Doug Wilson, you know what? I think he's misleading a lot of people. And it's kind of a placebo. It's quasi masculinity that he's teaching. I can't go there.
It might even be a hypnotic to convince men that femininity is masculinity. You need to hypnotize them a little bit to believe that, because it's so obviously not true, that you've got some work to do. And the hypnosis and a lot of that also, can very easily veer into the occult as well. And I think what you're seeing here is kind of Christianity on display for having been subsumed. And I blame the feminists, because if you read Rachel Wilson's book on occult feminism, she actually talks a bit about this. The church has kind of been has been infiltrated by the occult Satanists, and they have imported their beliefs. And then you see it in things like what I don't think Doug Wilson really understood, that he might actually be trying to do a Wiccan spell, but there are actually
No.
Wiccan spells
A
for
lot of
I can make
his
myself
works,
look
he's been
prettier.
kind of in other works, he's been criticized while I was in seminary for kind of having this if you do everything right, all your kids will turn out right, and if one of your kids doesn't turn out right, it's your fault, and therefore you shouldn't be a pastor or an elder or blah blah
Oh
blah anymore.
God. Oh
He's kind
God.
of like this
Okay,
health, you know.
Don't get me
I did
started
a
on the if you're
stream.
on that. Don't get me started.
I did a stream where I actually used what Doug Wilson said and totally
Some of what he
agreed
says
with
is
him.
good.
Sure.
Yeah, some
And
of
it
what he
was
says is good.
on women and empathy. It was kind of going into empathy and sympathy and how it relates to women. And
Yeah,
he was on target there. And
I got in
we
trouble
built
for
on that,
that
had a
in
good
my
stream, but he has not really applied it or understood it in the red pill sense. It's like he forgot all that stuff,
yeah.
and then he just deals with women as he thinks they should be rather than how they are.
Yeah, that whole talk got me in trouble with the custody evaluator, and that was one of the things that I was blamed. He doesn't have any empathy, and blah 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 blah. He's a terrible, all that type of crap. But I was just saying, hey, there's a distinction between empathy and sympathy, and okay, all right, there's a debate there. But yeah, I know what you're talking about. I watched that episode as well, Steve. So it was a good talk. He talks about here that this doctrine doesn't come from the Bible. It comes from Arthurian chivalry, the wedding of Sir Gawain. I'll skip down a bit. And he dug again. Pastor Doug Wilson discusses the same basic issues, slightly different in his book, Reforming Marriage. Wilson explains that a way a man can tell if he's pleasing God is by his wife's happiness or lack thereof.
Yeah, right. His mission is to please his wife. Is that what he's saying?
Uh-huh. Yeah, well, he says right here, the key is found in how the husband is treating his wife, or put another way, when mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Oh.
So you know who rules the roost then?
Oh yeah, she wears the pants in that relationship.
Yep, so it's the simpery of men. He promotes not the masculine, he promotes responsibility, but he actually hereby can undercut his authority because he'll be called out for his house not being in order because he's not doing enough to make his wife happy. He has to cater to her desires. Oh, here's one. Another Pastor Dave Wilson's, a different Pastor Wilson, teaches in Family Life's Art of Marriage that if a wife isn't sexually attracted to her husband, it is God speaking to the husband through his wife's non-burning bush.
Dalrock for the win. Dalrock, love it.
Yet, Dave, yes, here's all you need to know about that night. That thing that changed our marriage is when Anne was sharing with me what she felt. I had a pretty unique encounter with God. I sensed it was God was speaking to me through Anne.
Oh,
Let's try to get my
so
Pentecostal voice going on there. I don't know if it worked, but
I don't
so
think you can do it, Nick.
oh man.
he he experienced God through conjugal relations with his wife. And at a critical moment, he cried out, "Oh my God!"
Uh-huh.
So he found God. God was speaking to
Through
him.
the woman, through the fields.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, Tacticus. Okay, I'm gonna put this up, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm gonna put this up
Oh,
just for
man.
you. Oh. There you go, Tacticus. I'm not gonna say it, but that is actually pretty much what he's describing here.
Mm-hmm. So this is the chivalry. So then he's going to start. I'll read this, and then you'll see how Dalrock aptly illustrates this in his chart. It says, but while Christians adopted chivalry's parody of Christianity as if it were the real deal, feminists used chivalry to do the heavy lifting for their own rebellion against Christianity. This gives us not 2 philosophies or pills, it gives us 3. One is the real deal, and 2 are in rebellion against the original. This is where it gets even more confusing because there's a 4th perspective, which is game, and he gives us a chart here. So look, Christianity, chivalry, game, and feminism. There's Christianity, right? That's the truth. Which led to, there's a reaction. Get my cursor again. It's spazzing out. Doesn't like all these windows being open. There you go. Leads to chivalry, courtly love, the game of love, a parody of Christianity. Huh? But there's another reaction. Courtly love is adopted. So, there's this other thing. There's the real deal. Then there's this other thing going on. And then over time, it gets adopted into it, which leads to, dang it, there goes the cursor again. I'll find it. It's spazzing out. There we go. Chivalry, courtly love adapted as Christianity leads to, in one column, feminism, right? Or it can just lead to game. Game is a solution to feminism and as a response to feminism, which was a response to chivalry, courtly love, but it's also the response to just chivalry, courtly love as adapted as to Christianity.
Well, that actually makes
game
sense.
Yeah.
Because
I like this chart. I was like, oh, this is cool.
yeah. Well, because when you think about it, because this chivalry thing is a parody or a perversion of Christianity, you would need to then develop some way to do what Christianity used to do. So it would have to be a direct outgrowth of this. I think feminism more realized, probably, I don't think they realized consciously, but I think they realized that chivalry was itself not, it was not actually Christian because it took on so many elements of the occult that they already understood. So for them, it was very easy to wear it as a skin suit because they already agreed with most of it anyway. Like like the occult's fascination with sexuality, right? Okay, that for example, like
Right.
they would understand this intuitively, where the Christians who think they're being Christian don't understand that the sexuality of chivalry was actually a parody and not what Christianity was meant for.
So what he's done, he walked back the whole argument of non.
At its essence, marriage is about duty and obligation. So you shouldn't need game. But once chivalry came in, feminine wild were unleashed. You kind of had to deal with her emotions. Well, once her emotions came in, then the man needed a way deal with her emotions and her wild. Oh, along comes game.
Yes.
Because now, instead of duty and obligation and actual masculine power, patriarchy, enforcement, it all comes down to power. When she had no choice, she had to stay married. Now she has a choice. She's going to use her feminine wiles. We'll call it manipulation. So, in order to combat that or address that, the man needs to learn a bit of game.
Yeah.
It's true. Like we've talked about this before. I use the principles of game on Elena. I do, and it's been to the benefit of our relationship that I do, which I would say is actually a more Christian outcome.
It's also how you use game. Dalrock
Yeah.
explains game. A game came about as a reaction to the practical reality created by chivalry and chivalry's spawn, feminism. Game is a logical response to chivalry and feminism's joint rebellion against Christian sexual morality. Game is a reaction to the chivalrous and feminist lie that women are sexually attracted to masculine virtue, and that the way a man can seduce a woman or otherwise please her is to submit to her. Game is a practical rejection of the obvious lie regarding what sexuality arouses women. Rejecting a lie is in itself virtuous, but the most learned practitioners of game employ it to take full advantage of the feminist and modern Christian rejection of Christian morality. What have you been saying all along, Steve, about the problem is what? For the tradcons and all the
To
anti-RP.
reality and nature of women. They don't
The
think they
descriptions of
The
need
problem is the
the
descriptor.
descriptors. I don't need game because I refuse to acknowledge the nature of women. I refuse the descriptors. Therefore, I don't need I don't know if the word is defense. I don't need. Okay, this is kind of like war. Escalation of weaponry. Just think of how war has always an escalation. You know, the saddle and stirrup was a war escalation in weapons of war. You could stay on your horse, you could defeat the enemy. Oh, the machine gun. Ooh, that was an escalation. And now we have we had artillery. Cannons first. Gunpowder. Everything is an escalation. When one side escalates, the other side does. Game, okay, is it evil? It can be used for evil, but it's probably necessary. Is gunpowder evil? Are cannons evil? No, you have to meet the other side escalated. You're going to have to escalate. It's just natural.
Well, game is also rejecting lies. Oh, so man, again, I guess the red pill is morally good if you think rejecting lies is a good thing. Guess he calls it virtuous. Dalrock, the red pill, calls rejecting lies, which is part of game, virtuous.
So there's a
Okay.
morality here. I just saying, there's a morality here.
Yep. Unless you want to excommunicate Dalrock from the red pill. Oh dang. I guess that book on religion by Rollo will have to be burned in the fire.
Oh, we have to excommunicate Rollo too now? Oh goodness.
No,
have
no,
to
no, no, no. Well, he had
excommunicate.
that book on religion where he says, it's a praxeology and that red pill's amoral, but he used Dalrock so much on, I think, on his book on religion. So if we excommunicate Dalrock, right, from the red pill, then that book has to go too, possibly, or much of the
Okay,
book would have to
so
go. Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Eventually, we get to a bunch of people have to go.
I would
In
start
order,
purity spiraling.
well, exactly. Yeah, it's a purity spiral. It's like, okay, we have to excommunicate this person, this person, this person. Suddenly, the red pill's empty because we've excommunicated all the people in the red pill, because all over this idea that the truth is that looking for the truth is somehow amoral. Oh,
Right.
guys, I don't buy it.
Come on. You don't act that way in reality. All right. So we're almost through here. I'll keep reading. For some, game itself is the red pill. For most in the men's sphere, I would, however, argue that the discussion of game was the catalyst for the red pill reaction. As the Combux discussions regularly prove, there is no orthodoxy in the sphere regarding exactly what game is, if it works, and if it is good, bad, neutral. I won't try to resolve those questions in this post. What I want to focus on with this post is that the Christian red pill is or should be in reaction to what is the blue pill. As I noted earlier, there is confusion on this even within the sphere. When I first started blogging, I probably would have tentatively answered feminism. But fairly recently, it's become clear to me that chivalry is a much more precise answer. That's a unique take, guys. You don't hear this often. I was surprised
You
to
don't
hear
hear
this.
this at
And then the
all
whole chart.
anymore.
Then
I don't
I
hear it at
saw the
all.
chart. I was like, man, this is actually really interesting. I
Yeah.
want to delve into this further. Okay. He thinks chivalry is the more precise answer. As Christians, we should oppose the lesbian feminist pastor who is melting down purity rings to create a golden vagina. Okay. But at least her rejection of Christian sexual morality is overt. The far more insidious rejection of Christian sexual morality comes not from liberal Christians, but from conservative Christians, tradcons. And it comes not as feminism, but as chivalry posing as Christianity. Michael Knowles, I'll say it. The problem is
Yeah.
compounded by the desire of Christian men to strike a mock courageous pose by proposing to fight feminism with chivalry, which in their mind is the real Christianity, anyways. In retrospect, I should have understood very early on that white knighting was not a modern corruption of something that was once good. I should have understood that the perversion came with Sir Lancelot, the original White Knight. Says White Knight is a title which the famed Arthurian knight Sir Lancelot used until he discovered his actual name. According to legends, he was one of the most important knights among the knights of the Round Table. He was variously regarded as the bravest knight of King Arthur, as well as the close friend of the king. The White Knight Sir Lancelot was the one who fell in love with Queen Guinevere, and had an affair with her.
Oh wait,
That this
white knighting leads to adultery.
no shit.
Oh, well,
Chivalry is wicked.
but Steve, if white knighting leads to adultery, then what does that mean for all? What does that say about all these white knights in the tradcon space?
Chivalry is white knighting. There's a link to chivalry and white.
Yeah,
That's a
how many white
1,000-year-old link.
knights? How many white knights end up divorced?
Almost all of them.
A lot.
And
Dead
just because
bedroom.
he's a white knight doesn't mean it's his adultery.
That's true. Yeah.
He's
It pushes
he's
her to it.
affirming this ethereal love. And if his queen kind of gets the tingles for another man, oh, well, gee, who could have imagined?
Well, Steve, I think you see it in this concept of a higher love is that these men tell themselves that it's okay if she cheats because I love her at a higher level and I will forgive her for cheating. I, in my church, watched a couple do this. She cheats and he goes through all of the church therapy and whatnot. And he comes out saying, oh, no, I love my wife at a higher level. Yeah, the cheating was wrong, but I forgive her because that's what we as men are supposed to do.
Nope. No.
Yeah, okay. I was tempted into having
Forgive,
that
but that doesn't mean you have
belief.
to stay with him.
He stayed.
I have to be honest. Yeah. I mean, it didn't actually happen that way, but I actually thought through this and yeah, am I strong enough that I could still love her? Yeah, I deluded myself. Okay, no, that was bad thinking. But to think, I'm not going to delude you guys that I always saw things and didn't have temptations or even false beliefs that a lot of you guys do. No, I was just as much a dumb shit as most of the other guys out there.
Yeah, if you saw my interview with Pearl, yeah, you see how much of a dumb shit I was. I admit it too.
Oh, me and my first marriage. Oh my, it was not good. And I have said this, and because I was reading red pill stuff before my first marriage, and I still did the blue pill shit because the church told me that's what I should do. And I'm like, the
Yep,
church would never lead me wrong.
he is stray. And honestly, some of them don't even realize they're doing it.
I don't think I don't think anybody involved realized that that's what they were doing. I mean, you're talking about, the chivalry thing been around for 1,000 years, and Dalrock said in his first article that, all of this stuff is considered normal and even right. So no, I don't think they were intentional about it. I'm not saying that.
It's really hard to discover and follow the truth. Almost impossible to learn it any other way than through the school of hard knocks. There are so few men of wisdom out there who understand this. You're probably not going to hear it. And if you do hear it, it's not going to do you any good. The only hope is if your father had the wisdom that I have and had brought you up in it, yeah, and hammer it into you. Yeah, might work. I don't know. I have no experience with that. But that doesn't happen very often. Your father was probably deluded in these things and he bought into the narrative, the chivalry narrative. And that was so unbelievably common among boomers and earlier generations. They didn't need this knowledge. Let me say that again. They didn't need this knowledge because women still stayed. They didn't, the pervasiveness of options had not percolated through to the same extent. Now over time it did. That's why, at later years we saw a lot of boomers who had been married for 25, 30 years all of a sudden get divorced because finally this freedom percolated into the woman. But you didn't see it earlier on. They didn't need this knowledge. Therefore, they didn't have the knowledge. Therefore, they couldn't pass it on to their sons, which set us, late boomers, millennials, Xers. We were not taught this. And now no one's not taught this because you know what? Fathers are not in the picture anymore. That's reality.
Mr. Fuck.
So Tacticus has a question here. So there was better dread breaks. More or less, yeah. And remember, the woman's pool of options was very, very limited. Typically geographic, and it's not like she could just fly across the world to go get, to go get her Dubai boyfriend, right? So it's partly dread, it's partly opportunity. They just didn't have the opportunities, and that's why what Steve was talking about with the particularly social media comes in. You've got all these boomers been married for decades, all of a sudden splitting apart because the boomer women are looking at these younger women going, I want that lifestyle too.
The blind leading the blind all into destruction. But hey, here's the blue pill, guys. No. We'll talk about patriarchy, but all the women, they're still little angels. I mean, to be fair, I think they did actually do some good. Non-tenant Michael Foster, like, actually got a lot of good out of their work, and they kind of led me a little bit into the red pill. At least I encountered some of the data with the red pill. Yeah, I still think, and they know about white knighting, they experienced white knighting. I still think they didn't really. I think they took bits and pieces of the red pill. I'm glad that they did. They're trying to help men. That's good. They want to build godly families. That's good.
So
I don't think there are. I don't think there are enemies, but I still think they're misguided and not wanting. And it's they can't. They they refuse to see the nature of women.
So I read Michael Foster's book, and for the first
I did too. Yeah.
For the first 7 chapters, I was like, yes, yes, yes. And then in chapter 8, he pulls the punch. And after that, I'm just kind of like, no, that's not right. That won't work. This isn't how, this isn't how women operate. And I'm just like, and so I was sitting here going, so with Foster's book, it's just like, yes, and then no. And I was kind of disappointed in it, honestly.
Yeah. That is better than everything else that you find pretty much out there in the Christian sphere. I'll tell you what.
Hey, at least the first half, he got a lot of stuff right. Like, there's a lot of guys out there who've never heard that kind of stuff before. So, if you read his book and you got something out of it, particularly in the first half, yay, great. But that second half is setting you up for failure.
It's almost purple pill, or a half-cocked red pill. I don't know, but
purple pill.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm pretty much going to stop my slides there. I got another one. I can save it for another time. We're about 2.5 hours in. I think I've got my
Michael
point across
Foster
about-
brought you on a trek into town, showed you some truth, and then led you right back onto the plantation.
No, I didn't return.
Well, that was his intention.
Life
to lead you back onto the plantation.
I think what happened to me, I think that plantation doesn't have the answers. Cannot explain what happened to me and many other men. But all of a sudden, everything that George Bruno, Rich Cooper, and Rollo were saying made sense. I'm like, oh, this explains so much of what actually is going on, and where the hell was this? Where was this information? Where?
Yeah. That's kind of how I felt too. Where was this?
Okay. Rollo. I don't know that I'd call him Christian. George Bruno, yeah, Christian, Catholic, but he still, there's certain aspects that he doesn't stress. I mean, he understands the nature of women. I'm kind of with George. You got to make the best of it. But George is still not a promiscuous man, and neither am I. You know, he wants a woman, but and he's had some relationships since. Whereas I haven't, but I haven't found the right woman. So you have to, I don't know. There's the hard and fast rules, and then there's reality. How are you going to deal with that? And he struggles with that, as most Christians will.
It's not what you want it to be. This is reality. This is reality, guys. It's not make a wish.
Nick,
You know, what?
your reality sucks. I want to go make a wish instead.
But then you can never really change it to get closer to what you want it to be. You can't change women's nature, but perhaps you can improve society, remove some of the structures, address some of the issues, or change laws.
So, Nick, your
so that-
Christianity sounds really restrictive and boring. I think I'd have
really
much
don't give a
more
shit.
fun spinning plates.
You can do that, but I really don't give a shit.
Well,
quite frankly, I believe what I believe, and y'all can go to hell.
well, look, I would say this. I don't condone spinning plates. I don't spin
either.
plates, but that will not stop me from working with people who do spin plates. Because,
but okay, with that said,
it's
you
not a religious
understand.
solution, it's a political solution.
right.
You have to think politically. Yeah.
But you can understand why they do that.
That's a purity spiral. You can divide so much that you never do anything.
It's the original
It
purity
doesn't mean you have
tornado.
to you don't have to compromise your beliefs. You're just saying, hey, there's truth here. I'll talk to them. It doesn't mean I'm approving what they're saying, but hey,
Well,
if I
here's
can
what
work
I
together with
want to say.
them to change something for the better, why not?
Spinning plates or serial monogamy is a rational approach or solution. Rational doesn't mean it's the right approach. Doesn't mean it's what we should be doing. But I understand why guys do that. Given the modern world. I understand. That doesn't mean I approve.
Right. And this idea that we can only work with people who we approve of their purity, that makes us God. We now have to become judge and jury over that other person's purity. Okay? Do you believe the Bible has things to say about taking upon yourself things that are, reserved for God? But it's also exactly what the enemy wants you to do. Because if you spend all your time fighting against the impure on your side, you don't have time to fight the enemy. You don't have time to fight the devil. You don't have time to change laws or, network or network with other men and meet men who need to hear this. You can't save a life if you're too busy fighting for purity.
So it sounds like you're saying the men who are spinning plates or practicing serial monogamy are not the biggest problem in the world and not the enemy I should be fighting.
Correct.
It's a fight for another day. We're nowhere near that right now. Yes, you can say, yeah, you think it's degenerate. You can have that conversation. That's okay. But at the same time, hey, I'm going to use the tools I have in my political bag to make the world a better place.
To make the world a place that has less of the very degeneracy, less need for the very degeneracy that you're decrying. And that's it's really about, like, because I think Dalrock coming through points out that these quote unquote degeneracies are a response. And if we could remove the source of that response, you could also then remove the need for that response. The degeneracy problem will solve itself once you solve the bigger problem. And look, you're not going to convince every man to not be degenerate. Okay? You're not. Some men are going to be man whores. Like, that's, and you just have to accept that.
What's the solution? I'll tell you what the solution is, or maybe not. What do the three of us do? We do a weekly stream. We talk about these things. Give guys something to think about. Educate them. You know what? Their salvation, they're going to have to work that out. We're just a little piece. You know what? We're telling the truth. What is the impact of that? I don't know. I really don't know. Am I telling people how they should behave, how they should act? No. I'm giving them things to think about. That's the tiny bit the three of us are doing. We're not saying what the global solution is, other than, men, fathers are the answer. Men should have custody of their children. Okay. Absent that, and a multi-generational approach, fathers teaching children, and with discipline and mercy, I don't have a solution. So I'm just going to sit here and I'm going to talk about it. And you guys, our audience, think about these things and decide how you're going to conduct your life and how you can actually do your tiny little bit to make the world a better place. Just talk to a man who is frustrated with women or going through a bad time, and give them a little bit of wisdom or compassion or understanding. That's maybe all you can do.
Well, and guys, I know it can seem like you're not having an impact, like nothing's changing, nothing is, how can you possibly by yourself have any impact? Movements, and this is something that the left understands intuitively, that the right really could use to take a lesson from. Movements are not top-down structural creations. They are individuals going out and talking to people and just working with the other individuals in their sphere. And that is how you move minds. Yes, it is slow. Yes, it is imperfect. Yes, we're not going to get what we want. All of it. But you know what you're also not going to get? If you're not going to get anything if you do nothing. And you guys know that we did a stream on H1B. I don't want to talk about H1B, but I've been involved in that space now, and I can see the effect that a large number of people coming together and just repeatedly hammering the same points over and over again, I can see the effect it has. And so you might say, oh, well, we're a small group. Yeah, well, groups got to start somewhere. Some of these people in the H1B space have been fighting this for 8 years on Twitter. 8 years. And now they're going, finally, people are listening to us. Well, yeah, okay. Good. But they started somewhere. We're starting here with our tiny number of subscribers.
And the manosphere started somewhere.
Yep.
Exactly.
It may not seem like it, but the manosphere is much, much bigger now, because it was just this small area of the blogosphere. didn't really touch that many people. Now it's on YouTube. And there are multiple people out there talking about it. There is an explosion of channels talking about the behavior of women, what men should do. There's a much greater awareness that there's a movement. Men should just not get married. Okay, there is. It's had an immense impact. Now, is all of that impact good? No, not necessarily. But the awareness is grown immensely.
Yeah.
Is there been any change in the laws? Not yet. Not yet. But look, all the stuff that President Trump has done in the past 2 weeks, changes we could not have imagined. It's exposed a lot of bad stuff that our money has been spent for that we don't agree with. Promotion of an agenda and just bad stuff. Now, it hasn't really come home to how the system deprives men of their money and children. But is that beyond the realm of possibilities? No, it's more possible today than it was a month ago.
Change is coming. We've said it before that we think more change is coming than people are ready for. If you all remember,
It might hurt.
yeah, we talked about it in our episode on. Okay, I'm not going to say that on civil conflagration, and we talked about it briefly at the end of the H1B episode, and we'll probably continue to talk about it. Because once these movements get going, they tend to gain a lot of energy very quickly. Not all of it good. In fact, significant chunks of it will be very not good. But that is the result of the decades, and in some cases centuries of buildup that we're talking about here, and of this corruption in these systems. It's going to take a lot of effort to destroy that corruption, and there will be a lot of collateral damage along the way.
Just think of it like a big dam holding back an immense amount of water.
Mm-hmm.
That is potential energy. When the dam collapses, it all comes rushing out with a very destructive force. It goes in many areas and it cannot be controlled. The demise of marriage and the family and feminism and political correctness and chivalry has erected this dam that it's coming down. It's going to come down. And yes, the aftermath of the collapse of the dam is not going to be pretty.
Come down.
Well, that's why we talk about these things.
Let's land the plane. Let's get this towards 3 hours. So, guys, thanks for our fellow people in the chat. Always enjoy it, guys. Yeah. See you, Chief of Sinners.
Chat brought the heat tonight. You guys are on fire, and I loved it. And thank you for sticking with us. We don't normally do 3-hour-long streams, but Nick, this was a banger tonight.
Oh, I just started reading Dalrock. So, guys, I became Red Pill. I was a Christian guy. I had never read Dalrock. I hadn't even heard about the guy, right? And then I started reading. I'm like, dang, this guy's saying a lot of the same things that I was saying. he made a lot of the same observations I came to observe too. It's like, oh, this guy kind of knows what he's talking about. But so we've had previous episodes. We've defined red pill. Yeah, we kind of agree with Dalrock. We talked about game before. We've talked about the manosphere. Um, Dalrock seems to think that some of the red pill truths and exposing lies and practicing the truth is virtuous. So the red pill is morally good. Ooh. Also, you see with Dalrock, what we've been saying, especially Steve's episode, the TradCon's problem with the red pill is not the prescriptions. Yeah, okay, they might not like some of some people, some groups, the pickup artistry and their degeneracy. Okay, whatever. But their real problem, as Dalrock's articles have exposed, is the truth. The problem is with the red pill descriptors. They're exposing the truth. And we see here in Dalrock a Christian man living out the truth for the glory of God. And hey, we should take the truth as found in nature, the light of nature, the natural law, and
You have
incorporate it
to
as truth from God.
you have to give Dalrock credit. And as a compliment to him, he said these things 10 years ago. And they're still true today. They have stood the test of time. That is true wisdom. You know, I only hope the things that I say and someone stumbles across some of our streams 10 years from now. Damn, what those guys are saying, it's still true. Well, great. I hope so. I hope I'm not proven wrong, but that is a great compliment. And that's what we all should strive for and hope for, is the things we say today are still are prove the test, or are proven by the test of time to be true in the future.
It's a good aspiration. Any closing remarks, Plutarch?
You know, I enjoyed this one. I really did. Yeah, I got to vent a little. But I think the thing that I want to say is that, guys, this stuff was known 10 years ago. It was actually known before then, if you were around during the pre-manosphere days. We don't some of the stuff you guys don't really need to reinvent. The truth is the truth is the truth. It doesn't change over time. And sometimes the people who came before you, they're pretty wise people. They figured some stuff out. So if you can do like we did today, go back, read something that was written 10, 12 years ago, and you go, yep, that's all still true today, then it probably is just true. What you guys choose to do with that, again, we're not here to tell you what to think. We're just here to give you things to think about. But hopefully you can use this to help save another man's life, because that is, for all three of us, I think, for me for sure, a major part of the reason why we're here doing this.
Yep.
And go out
Save
and
men's lives.
yeah, go out and help the men around you. Bring them to the truth. And if we all did a little bit of that, the world will be a better place. Not maybe, will. That's all I got for today on my final.
Well put. Any post ultimate thoughts, guys?
No.
I've said it all.
All right. Well, guys, please like, share, subscribe, or subscribe to the Resurgence of Sanity on YouTube. We're here every Wednesday, unless something happens, at 7:45 Central, 5:45 Pacific. I think. Does Elena have something going on Saturday?
Yeah, we're going to be off on Saturday.
Nothing this Saturday.
Yeah, nothing this Saturday, unfortunately.
Okay.
We will be back next Saturday.
And for any new viewers, our Saturday stream is not on this channel. Got Elena's Bar Fitness. And okay, we don't have women on our channel.
Correct.
We haven't. We probably won't. But we do engage with her over on her channel. And she does occasionally entertain women.
If I can survive.
Yeah, and the conversations tend to be a little different over there. She likes to ask questions, so it can be a little more Q&A style.
All right, guys. Well, join us next time.
Yep.
Do we have anything for next time yet?
We had 4 ideas over the weekend. I don't think we picked one.
So, join us for whatever it is next week. Thanks for listening, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.